We live in a digital world where most photographers will go out and shoot, come home, edit the photos in Lightroom, and the end of the process is sharing the photos online. But I think there's a step that most people have forgotten about. That is printing your photos. I've been doing this for years. As long as I've been a photographer, I've enjoyed printing my work, whether it's larger prints or smaller proof-sized prints. Because there's a special feeling of satisfaction just by physically holding a photo of yours in your hands. Because that photo you shot no longer feels like just a JPEG on your phone or computer, but an actual photograph. Whether it's big prints you can hang on the wall or small prints of photos that you shot from an evening out or a trip you went on. Being able to look at your photo and hold it and think, yes, I shot that. It's such a good feeling. But truthfully, I don't know another photographer that actively prints their photos just to keep in their collection rather than just selling them. So recently, a local print shop invited me out to their warehouse so I can come check out and see how they make their prints. They offered to print one of my photos and I could see the process from beginning to end how they make their prints. And what instantly hooked me is they don't do paper prints. All of their prints are on metal. I've always been intrigued by metal prints, but I've never actually purchased one before, so this was exciting. So shout out to Vivid for inviting me and letting me film the process of bringing one of my favorite photos that I've ever shot to life. I actually have 2 of these metal prints and I'm going to be giving one of them away, so stick around to the end of the video. I found the whole process really interesting and I thought you guys might as well, so let's cut to Vivid and let them do the rest of the talking.
This is our studio, where we actually make all of the paper transfers.
You can't tell one from the other.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is very, very true.
Great. All right. All right. We're live now. We're recording, so you got to be quiet, and you got to stop banging on stuff too. Pause it for a second. All right. So we are kind of in a unique position where we are trying to convince people why this medium is the best medium, and most people out there have been printing on paper and canvas their whole life. And apart from this stuff being hyper durable, right? So the metal has a coating on it, and so that gives our ink depth to sublimate into. And so what that means is, instead of like on a paper print, you're just kind of spraying on the surface of the paper, our dyes are suspended in the middle of this coating. And so when light hits the back of the aluminum and goes through the inks, it gives it a depth that you just cannot match with paper. But one of the battles that we're always fighting is color accuracy. And the reason that is because all of the phase shifts that happen during our process. So what do I mean by phase shift and what do I mean by sublimation? So sublimation is when we print your image on a high release dye carrier paper, and then we tape that to the aluminum, and then we use time, heat, and pressure to convert those dyes into a vapor, which then goes into the coating. And so I have an example of that here. So our inks actually come in as a liquid, right? And then they get sprayed as a solid into this high release dye carrier paper. Then when we tape this to the metal, it turns into a vapor. Then it goes back into a solid after it's pushed into the metal. And so it goes liquid, solid, vapor, solid. And so all of those phase shifts, cause color changes. And very often you cannot tell what's gonna happen to the color when it's on paper. So if you look here, each of these different samples have a different set of color moves in Photoshop. Now, we don't know what these are going to look like when they sublimate, right? When they go through this heating process. And so that means that, whenever you place an order with us, whether you order press proofs mailed to you, we are actually making metal proofs in the building to see. And so this is the whole image. So this is an overall. And then this is a detail. So this is like a 1-for-1 representation size-wise, right, of the image. And we see kind of the differences. And sometimes it takes 2 or 3 hits, sometimes it takes 18 hits to get the color right, but we will do that to make sure that you get an accurate representation of your print. And it's really hard, but we do it. This is the production floor where we cut down all the metal, build all the crates that your stuff ships in, cut the frames, do the sublimation, kind of everything top to bottom.
Well, that was a lot of fun, and I really hope you guys could see just through what I shot at Vivid just how passionate these people are about their prints. So I hope you guys enjoyed seeing that. I hope you guys learned something, because the whole process, it was more complicated than I imagined it would be, but at the same time, I don't know how it could have been any less complicated. It was really cool though. I've always wanted to make a video about this topic, but everything happens for a reason, and right around the same time I put together my new studio, Vivid reached out to me, so I took that as a sign that this was the right point in time to make this video. I hope this video reaches the right people, and let this be a sign that you need to print your work more too. I feel like with the way Instagram is going nowadays, and the fact that posting photos on there hardly even matters anymore, is a sign that we as photographers need to get back to our roots. If you're a photographer and you're watching this video, whether you print your photos as often as I do, I'm sure you've printed one of your photos at some point and you know just how good that feeling is holding it in your hands. When I look at all of the photos surrounding me, it tells me that this is what it means to be a photographer. This is my favorite photo that I have ever taken. When I look at it, it reminds me of one of the most fun and the most epic photo trips that I've ever gone on to New York City in the summer of 2019. I remember when I shot this photo that I didn't even think I got a good shot here. It wasn't until I got back to where we were staying and I started editing the photos and I realized just how good this photo was. And it ended up being my favorite photo that I've ever shot. On that same trip, I shot this photo, and it is one of the scariest and most risky photos that I've ever taken. I love telling people the story of this photo because we snuck into this hotel, snuck into the elevator, went up 55 stories, and we snuck into the stairway, dodging security cameras, hugging corners, and we crawled through a small door that we had to pick the lock to that was about maybe 2 feet tall to get onto the fire escape. Climbed up the fire escape 2 more stories. If I let go, I would have fallen down at least 40 stories. By far the scariest thing I've ever done. And I got this photo, and it is so cool. It's not one of my favorite photos of all time, but when I see and think about this photo, I think, wow, I will never do that again, but I'm so glad I did do it. You guys may have seen this photo before. I actually shot it during a photo walk video about a year ago. But little did I know at the time that this would end up being my favorite photo of the city I live in, Winston-Salem, that I have ever shot and probably will ever shoot. This is also another one of my favorites. I don't really know exactly what it is about this photo, but I just love the fact that you have this older couple standing in front of these vintage cars in front of a theater that has Elvis, because I think the Elvis movie was in theaters at the time. But at the same time, it looks like the photo could have been taken decades ago and maybe Elvis was performing there. You can interpret the photo however you want, but it's also one of my favorites. And of course, this photo that you guys have seen a lot recently. Somehow after I shot this photo and I edited all of my photos, I kind of skipped and missed this photo and didn't realize just how much I love it. I did use Photoshop AI to remove a car that was in this photo, and once I did, I realized it's probably my favorite photo from the entire trip. So of course I had to hang it up on the wall. And speaking of that photo, as I mentioned earlier in this video, I mentioned I would be giving away this print. So if you're interested in winning this print and you want to see for yourself how much better printing on metal is than paper, you can head over to my Instagram and check out the reel where I'm giving this photo away. All you need to do is make sure you are following me and Vivid Metal Prints on Instagram, like the reel, comment and tag one person, and then share the reel on your story, and you will be entered and have a chance to win this. And if you want to order a print of one of your photos as well and see just how good it looks on metal, and I promise you will never want to go back to paper, you can use the discount code down in the description and get a small percentage off of your order as well. So thank you for watching this video, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please like the video and subscribe to help support me so I can continue growing and reaching a larger audience. And I hope I could inspire you guys to get out, take more photos, and then print your photos. Go out and shoot.